Hey, Top Analyze Math Industry, and we're going to be focusing on how many solutions with systems of equations. We're going to be solving another equation, and we're going to see what kind of answer we'll be able to get. Is it a normal solution, no solution, or an infinite number of solutions? Let's solve this and see what it is. When solving two equations like this, what we're going to try and do is isolate the y's in both equations. The reason why is because what we're going to try and do is turn those equations into y equals mx plus b form. That y is going to be isolated. And when we do that, we'll be able to graph it on a piece of paper and see what kind of solution it is. We can also understand what kind of equation it is by looking at the structure of the equation. But let's start solving. Let's start with 2x minus y equals 2. So if we write that right here, 2x minus y equals 2. What we're going to try and do is have that y isolated. So now we have negative y. That 2x is now negative 2, and we subtract from both sides. Negative y equals negative 2x plus 2. So, we also have that negative y. When you isolate a y in an equation, y's do not like to be negative. So we can say that negative y is the same thing as saying negative 1y. But there's no 1 right there. It's invisible. So we divide everything by negative 1. We will be able to get an answer of y equals negative 2 divided by negative 1 is going to be positive 2. Y equals 2x plus negative 2, or y equals 2x minus that by 2. This equation is now successfully turned into y equals mx plus b form. So the top equation is now completed. Let's now focus on the bottom equation and do the same thing too. Isolate that y and turn it into y equals mx plus b. Then we'll be able to graph. So our second equation is 4x minus 2y equals 8. So what we're going to try and do is isolate that y. That y wants to be alone, and it wants to be the leader of the mx plus b formula. So we're going to have that minus that by 4x and minus this by 4x. Because we want that y alone. We get negative 2y minus that by 4x. Then we have plus 8. We don't know what negative 4x with 8 is, so we just leave it as this. That problem with that coefficient of negative 2, this is not really isolated yet. We have to divide everything, pretty much everything, by negative 2. Then y will definitely be alone. So if we divide pretty much everything by negative 2, we're going to get an answer of y is going to equal 2x. Negative 4 divided by negative 2 is 2. Then we're going to say 8 divided by negative 2. That is going to become negative 4. So our new way of saying this, and in our y equals mx plus b form, we have y equals 2x minus that by 4. And when we compare the two and write it on a separate piece of paper, we'll be able to find what kind of answer we'll get. So, type in the comments below what you think this answer is. If you carefully take a look at the equations, both of them, you notice that the y-intercept, or the starting point, is totally different. the variable and the slope is going to be the same. The y's are definitely going to be the same. But what the only difference is that there's a -2 on the first one and a -4 on the second one. We can understand that this is no solution. And the symbol for no solution is a circle and a line crossing it saying this equation do not work.
Did it work? No. Did it work? No. Did it work? No. Nothing's working!
Wait, SpongeBob! We're not cavemen! We have technology!
It didn't work.
In that SpongeBob episode, SpongeBob and Patrick accidentally painted over Mr. Krabs' first dollar, and they're trying to fix it, but every time they try to do something and they think of a new solution, it doesn't work. And number 2, every time we place a number in both equations for x, then our answer for y in both equations would be totally different. Like for example, if we place 2 and x for both equations, 2 times 2 is 4, minus that by 2, y on the top one is going to be 2. On the second one, 2 times 2 again, that would be 4, minus that by 4 is going to be 0. Y on this one would be 0. So every time we place a number for x, it won't work. That is one way we can prove that this is a no solution problem. The other way is actually graphing it and visualizing it. So here is the graph to prove this is a no solution question. So the red line is 2x minus 2, which is the top equation. The bottom equation is 2x minus 4, which is colored in blue, the blue line. As you can see, as we scroll out, pretty much the lines never, ever touch each other. Usually, when we find an answer, we would always have an intersection, pointing out that there are 2 numbers that can be placed into x and y that can help make both equations true. But in a no solution, there is no intersections, so there is no answers that we can use. The third thing we can observe is the -2 and the -4. When we take a look and scroll in to those y-intercepts or those starting positions, they are different y-intercepts and they're different numbers. They're the same slopes because they have 2 x's on both equations. They're the same slopes, but they're starting on different points. That's why they almost and they never touch each other. That is pretty much saying we are copying and pasting a slope and moving it onto another part of the graph. Like this y-intercept is going to be this different y-intercept from that one. They're the same slopes, but different because they're ending up starting on different positions. So pretty much we're copying and pasting. And those can prove why that these 2 are no solution. Thank you for watching Tao Ping Airlines Math Industry. Like and subscribe.